On January 7th, 2024, officers with the Orlando Police Department responded to a report of a physical battery occurring inside a busy downtown bar. An officer asks the victim if she can identify her attacker. She claims she can easily point the suspect out. The officer immediately asks if the suspects are still in the area. He scans the immediate outdoor area very closely, trying to spot the fleeing suspects. The victim is clearly furious and promises swift, violent revenge if she sees them. The officer presses for details, asking her to describe the person who hit her. She says a girl with long hair and another female suspect both jumped her. It was a 2-on-1 assault. The cop carefully writes down the description, but she continues angrily venting about the violent incident. Now, let's watch how her story shifts as she reveals the actual motive behind it. This whole dispute centers around an ex-boyfriend. This was not a random attack. There is clearly deep history between them. She admits she actively went after the woman, fully intending to start a fight. This is a major revelation for the officers, since she was the clear aggressor. Predictably, the other woman and her friend immediately retaliated. The physical confrontation escalated very quickly after that, leaving the victim on the losing end. Her friend tries to spin the narrative in her favor, but the officer shuts down the interruption. He wants to gather the facts, unbiased. Then, he asks if she wants charges. Her friend keeps interrupting, while the officer requests her physical identification card. Let's see where this investigation goes next. The officer asks her to hand over her ID. Another officer steps in to secure the suspect, instructing her to wait. Today we are breaking down a chaotic arrest, pointing out suspects. There is an injury. Officer takes note. Next, he takes control of the physical evidence. They need more information first. Specifically, they are waiting for the bouncer. He is the primary eyewitness to the fight. He saw the whole thing. Officers agree. This security guard is their most reliable source. Understood. They must verify who started the physical fight. The bouncer pointed her out as the aggressor. She started the fight. It was an assault. That is the story they are working with, based on the staff's direct testimony. Right. Now let's watch how the investigation shifts. The woman in denim is the primary suspect, who has long hair. At this point, she is officially detained here. Officers check for her identification. Yes. Which? There is some initial confusion here. Put the phone away. She needs to listen. Questioning is now beginning. Camera. The officer separates her to get her side, away from others, asking for her version. She immediately admits there is major drama here. The issue stems from an old relationship, specifically involving a former romantic partner. They had no contact for over 2 years. Then, the deputy stops her to clarify this timeline. Which one? Establishing the connection. Right. Now, she hesitates and apologizes. The officer firmly takes total control, reminding her why they are there. She complies, insisting she only speaks to him. She explains there is ongoing bad blood, despite never actually meeting in person. Zero communication. The officer cuts right to the trigger. Exactly. Noted. She downplays their entire history. Understood. Then she continues, detailing a series of hostile text messages, fueled by jealousy over their shared ex, and claims she had no such intentions, which led to a very clear physical threat. Fast forward to their night at the club, where their paths finally crossed in the crowd. She urges police to check the cameras, confident the security video will back her, claiming the other girl attacked her first, blindsided by a sudden hair pull from behind, spinning around in shock, instantly facing a punch. Right. Naturally, she claims she only defended herself. She struck back to protect herself, with no security stepping in yet. The altercation quickly escalated into a brawl, leaving her with minor physical injuries, while the other party is visibly bleeding from the fight, calling the entire attack completely unprovoked. Frustrated by the senselessness of the drama, the officer moves in to inspect her hands, carefully checking her fingers for any fresh wounds. Looking at the damage, she corrects him. He wraps it up. Indeed. Okay, I appreciate it. And you have never met her? No bad blood or anything, is this? All online. Online, I have never seen her, never. Talked to her, absolutely nothing. Alright, is there any reason this escalated to this point? I did not see her tonight until I felt my hair get yanked on the stairs, turned around, seeing her. Okay, so, do you think she was actually trying to pull your hair? Absolutely, absolutely, she literally saw me since I was walking up the stairs. We must have locked eyes or something. I was just looking around, though. Wasn't staring at anyone's eyes. And then, as soon as we turned the corner to go upstairs, I felt a sharp yank on my hair. I thought it was my best friend at first, so I turned around. I was completely shocked. She just smirked and said, "What's up?" And this is where things get interesting. From an investigative standpoint, both women claim to be the victim, pointing fingers at each other. Let's notice how this deputy is not rushing to make conclusions. Instead, he asks specific questions about who initiated physical contact and any history between them before the brawl even started. Here, credibility is absolutely everything, because self-defense claims typically hinge on who threw the first punch or who pulled the first strand of hair. What do you think happened? Far, when someone grabs your hair from behind, does that justify an instant physical reaction, or should there still be limits on how far self-defense can go? Watch. Let's see. The officer tells him to wait. Confusion starts now. Listen in. Here. Now. The venue lacks any working cameras covering this area, meaning no footage is available, but a witness saw the tail end of the fight. Missing how it began, he saw victim covered in blood while another girl in denim held her by the hair and repeatedly punched her in the face. The victim was only trying to escape, according to what the witness reported seeing. He noticed her mouth was severely torn and bleeding. The damage is quite shocking. She also has a broken fingernail, a classic sign of struggling. Now, the officers need photos of the wounds before the suspect is taken away or cleaned up by the medical staff. Exactly. This physical evidence is vital for the prosecution later. It protects them. The deputy asks for witness details to make sure everything is logged. They already have his information. Perfect. They want to verify the bouncer who witnessed the attack. Next, pictures of her injuries. Once the photo is captured, they will read her the Miranda warning. Exactly. Greater than that is ridiculous, right? This police investigation just took a major turn. An unbiased third party, the bouncer, steps up to provide crucial details that contradict the suspect's claims. In these situations, independent witnesses carry massive weight, since they have no personal stake in this chaotic fight. Pay close attention here. According to what the police are hearing, he saw one woman grabbing the other by her hair and repeatedly punching her as she tried desperately to break free. Now that is a vital distinction, because it can totally shift how prosecutors view self-defense versus active aggression. Remember, though, police are still collecting evidence at this scene. One statement does not prove guilt, but it strongly builds the probable cause needed for an immediate arrest. Do me a favor. Why are you doing that? What's the point? Greater than oh no. Greater than take a seat. Greater than just take a seat. Greater than take a seat. Greater than take a seat. Greater than take a seat. No, I am telling you, Anne. Greater than order. Greater than okay. I need to read you something. And I. Greater than have to ask you some questions. Greater than no. Greater than look. Are you in handcuffs? Okay, so let me do my job. Alright. Alright, perfect. Now, you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand? Greater than yeah. Greater than anything you say can be used against you in court. Do you understand? The suspect acknowledges. Let's analyze how the officer reads her rights. Notice how careful they are here. Watch. She agrees. This ensures her statements can be used later. It is standard legal procedure before interrogating. The officer needs her consent. He asks if she is speaking freely, establishing that no coercion took place. She denies. Right there. Waiver complete. She is visibly uncomfortable and requests a seat. To settle, the detective tries to lower tension. He frames this as just a chat. Smart. She agrees. He immediately jumps back to the incident timeline, mentioning the motive, a dispute over an ex, establishing the background history. Now he asks when things turned physical. He wants to know her intent during the confrontation, the assault, but she deflects, claiming she was attacked first. She claims a hair pull triggered her reaction. In retaliation, the officer probes. He asks for specifics on the physical contact, seeking concrete details here. She describes a violent pull to justify her response, and points to surveillance as proof. She claims the force knocked her off balance. Backward. Now he wants to hear her next move, leading into her action. A direct confession. He immediately probes for intent to harm. Crucial detail. She claims she was simply reacting blindly, framing the punch as a defensive reflex, arguing that the force was unusually aggressive. Let's see if footage backs her up. The interview continues. The officer is trying to determine who actually initiated the fight. He probes deeper. Immediately, the suspect shifts blame, claiming she was attacked first. She demands the officer check nearby security cameras, but the officer quickly shuts down that defense strategy. There are no cameras, but they do have eyewitnesses, and those witnesses painted a very different picture. They report seeing the suspect violently beating the victim, throwing multiple punches. Once again, the suspect defaults to self-defense claims, insisting she was the actual victim. The officer remains calm, trying to lower the tension. He advises her to calm her intense demeanor. Recognizing her hostility, the suspect tries to pivot. She attempts to show cooperative compliance, acknowledging that the deputy is just doing his job. She is trying to build rapport with the officer here. He listens, but her adrenaline is still running very high. She offers an apology for her aggressive attitude, blaming her hostile behavior on the stress of the moment. Another apology follows. Notice how the officer validates her anger while maintaining control. He redirects the conversation back to gathering facts, ensuring he hears her perspective completely. She nods. He explains his ultimate goal is to avoid mistakes. No officer wants to lock up the wrong person, especially in fights. To bolster her case, she claims she has evidence, explicitly showing threats sent by the other party earlier. She insists she is ready to take this to court. Unafraid of legal consequences, she welcomes a lawsuit, ready to file cross charges if things go far. She feels fully insulated by her documentation. He listens, expressing a total lack of concern about outcomes. The deputy gives her one final chance to explain, ensuring no critical details are left out of reports. Her focus suddenly shifts to wanting her friend. He refuses. Standard procedure requires keeping all involved parties separated. She tries to play it off. Let us look closer. Give this deputy credit for keeping his cool. Despite how emotional things get, he keeps asking those same critical questions, trying to build a timeline. That is precisely what trained investigators do now. What is also interesting here is the suspect admits she is upset and apologizes for her attitude. This temporarily lowers the tension, but legally speaking, the real issue is still there. Can any evidence back up her claim of self-defense, or does the current witness testimony paint her as the main aggressor? This is exactly where real-life cases get way messier than most people expect. Truth is rarely obvious, and often the most crucial evidence comes from bystanders who were not even involved in the actual fight. Wait, what? Has she said anything else yet? So you are basically interviewing her? Yeah, I know. Gonzalez is with her? Yeah, they say she is going to need stitches, so that will likely be a felony charge for her. Yeah, alright, got it. And we already took some pictures. Yeah, Nesbitt has his body camera going, active, and I have mine on my hip. Alright, perfect. I swear to freaking God. No. What the heck? Crap. Oh, do not do this. Oh, no man. Bro, you need to. Bro, you know the drill. Relax. Get on the ground. You better stop resisting before your face gets slammed on the ground. No, I do not understand. Why? Bro, She did not start this. Man, reality sinks in right now. Deputies track them down. This is the exact moment when the active investigation becomes an arrest. Watch how the officers highlight physical injuries and key witnesses to build their legal case. In some states, a severe facial cut can quickly upgrade a simple misdemeanor to a felony. That's why deputies are documenting every wound. On camera, crucial evidence like this secures a conviction, giving the state attorney what they need to press charges in a courtroom later. Right now, tempers are flaring, but the legal machine is just starting up. Handcuffs make the news, but they are merely stage one of a long journey through the criminal court. Deputies coordinate to identify witnesses. They need statements. Security is cooperative. The team moves fast. Meanwhile, the suspect frantically begs for help. An officer addresses her sudden medical complaints. Suspects often use medical distress as a stalling tactic. The officer handles it with calm professionalism. Next, they check on the injured victim, who is currently giving her account of what happened. Gathering contact information is highly critical, especially when the victim is too shaken to draft a formal written report on the spot tonight. With one suspect detained, proceedings are guaranteed to move forward to the prosecutor's desk soon. A formal court date will be scheduled for them. Ultimately, both parties have the option to press criminal complaints. The victim is definitely pressing charges tonight. The suspect is headed straight to jail. Officers take action. They start gathering vital information. Listen. Things are moving fast. The suspect tries explaining. Indeed. The deputy addresses the injured victim named Tanya. He prepares to start the official paperwork. The deputy carefully explains what happens next. She agrees to help. Let's look at a key legal detail. Many people misunderstand this part. An arrest does not equal a conviction. The deputy is explaining the next steps. The case will go to prosecutors. They will review everything: witness statements, photographs, and evidence before deciding anything. Notice the physical injuries here. They appear quite severe. This warrants an aggravated battery charge, but the burden of proof remains. Handcuffs do not guarantee a conviction. Prosecutors need very strong evidence to support the case in court. Based on what we've seen, do you think this proof is enough, or would you want more evidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me your take. The suspect is definitely going to jail tonight. She is booked for aggravated battery. The victim's eye is heavily damaged. There is a highly visible deep laceration. Severe. That makes this crime a serious felony. That is why getting her written statement is crucial. They need to document everything. The state attorney will reach out. They will ask her if she wants to prosecute and continue pursuing these criminal charges. That is why paperwork is essential. Everything must be documented right from the start. The officer needs everything documented immediately, especially since they are looking at a serious felony charge. His partner is retrieving the booking forms now. Notice how they keep her supervised to maintain absolute control. This scenario illustrates a critical lesson about how probable cause works. Convictions demand far higher proof, capable of holding up in court. Deputies answered a chaotic call and took statements, photographed physical injuries, questioned everyone on scene, and detained one suspect for felony assault based on immediate evidence. But as the final file shows, the state attorney dropped the case because there simply was not enough hard proof to secure a conviction. That distinction is incredibly important. Within our legal system, putting someone in handcuffs only starts the process, it never finishes it. The whole narrative can shift once prosecutors review the file. What do you think about this? Was the officer's decision right, based on their scene findings? Or did they move too fast before making the final arrest? If you found this case fascinating, be sure to hit that like button, drop your feedback below, and subscribe for more body cam breakdowns. On the next case.